Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Murder, where I'll be talking about and reviewing an episode of Poirot, Murder, She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, or Jonathan Creek. Today, I'm looking at Jonathan Creek, Jack in the Box, or as I like to call it, that time Jonathan was haunted by a toilet. We begin the episode with a weird banana advert, where this old man keeps getting himself into trouble. But that man, Jack Holliday, hates it and yells at Scott, who doesn't have time for this, and walks out, where we see Jack can barely use his hands. And into the credits we go. Oliver drives Jack's second wife, Kirsten, home, who breaks the news that his first wife's killer is being released. Alan Rokesmith, at a press conference, thanks Maddie for her help proving his innocence, and his sister Rachel, who is furious he's been wrongly imprisoned for 9 years. Alan asks to be left alone, but there's a little party to greet him, and he goes inside to see his elderly mother, who is just the cutest. Alan says he wants to take a trip to the coast to enjoy his freedom, and 2 weeks later, Kirsten and Oliver discuss Jack's wife's death before frantically trying to find him when he goes missing. The police get involved, and this good doggo is interested in the locked nuclear shelter, which they have to pry open before heading inside. Spooky. They hit another sealed door, which they have to take a blowtorch to, and with the light on, they discover Jack's body. The cop concludes the death was self-inflicted, but Kirsten argues he couldn't pull the trigger due to his arthritis. However,
nobody could possibly have killed your husband and then left this room.
Jonathan gets a call from Maddie, as Adam is hella creepy, and the next day they go for a drive where Jonathan realizes he's been tricked into another case, and they discuss whether or not Rokesmith was guilty. Maddie shows Jonathan a letter from Kirsten blaming her for setting Rokesmith free to kill her husband, and Maddie wants to clear this matter up. Maddie drops Jonathan off at the house, where Kirsten shows him all of Jack's memorabilia, and he's very kind about it, even though he's clearly not interested. Kirsten explains Jack got death threats right before his first wife was murdered, and these days his arthritis was so bad he couldn't do anything. Oliver takes Jonathan down into the bunker as Maddie talks to the guy who built it, who says it's impenetrable, which Jonathan confirms as he pokes around. He notes a hole where the toilet would have gone, as well as some cotton wool and a light bulb in the wrong box, and reports to Kirsten that there's no way a killer could have left the room. On the way back, Maddie gets a voicemail from Rokesmith, but she can't get hold of him, and Jonathan wonders just how bad Jack's hands were. So Maddie goes to see Scott, who reveals that the advert Jack filmed had to use someone else just to peel a banana. Scott confirms that there is no way Jack could have shot himself, while Rachel goes to see her brother at his holiday home, finding his diary that ended yesterday, only to be told by the police that they found his wrecked boat. Maddie comforts her, and she gives her all of Rokesmith's prison mail, including letters from a fudge company, although Rachel says he hated fudge. Maddie theorizes to Jonathan that Jack had a device to help him pull the trigger that went back down the toilet hole, but Jonathan says there's no reason to do that, and asks to look at the letters from the fudge company before declaring that Jack was definitely murdered. After getting caught in a rainstorm, the pair check into a hotel where Jonathan says the clue is on the fudge envelopes, but they're being watched. They peel back the stamps and find secret messages that sounds like an affair before they go to bed, where Jonathan gets a visitor of a stabbed melon on his pillow, so he calls Maddie. Excuse me? Oh, it says back off. Jonathan has a staring contest with this toilet before saying he solved the case and freaking out, so Maddie calms him down and drives him back to Kirsten's, where she's not happy to see Maddie. Down in the bunker, Jonathan switches the light bulbs, and Maddie reveals that Jack was responsible for his wife's death by hiring someone to murder her. The day of Jack's death, he was held at gunpoint and marched down into the bunker, where they locked the doors and shot him dead, placing the gun in his hand. And that person? Alan Rokesmith.
You were right. I was wrong.
Kirsten doesn't believe it, but Jonathan shows her the fudge letters, which were from Jack.
He was telling Rokesmith to keep his mouth shut.
And Oliver admits he knew the truth that Jack had had his wife killed because she was a gold digger who slept around, and he was the one who put the melon in Jonathan's bed. Kirsten says, that's nice, but where is Rokesmith now? And Jonathan explains the eerie truth. He dismantled a wall near the toilet pipe.
He was going and taking Holiday with him.
Jonathan says he wrote a bunch of fake diary entries and destroyed his boat before rebuilding the wall further into the room and taking a bunch of pills which gave him just enough time to seal himself in. Jonathan demonstrates he knew this because the toilet would no longer fit where it was supposed to, and the light bulb was switched to cover the new brickwork. Oliver goes to town on the wall and peeks inside, and yep, that image has haunted me since I was 10. Okay, for the fact this was only episode 2 of the show, it's really good. As with any of these cases, the logic is flawed if you dig too deep, and a freshly laid wall wouldn't look that smooth on the outside when built from the inside. But still, this blew my tiny mind when I first watched it. It's so creepy, not just the image of Rokesmith behind the wall, which is up there with Frank's body crawling up the stairs in The Three Gamblers, but also the fact that he was driven to that. 9 years in prison prevented Rokesmith from being able to cope with freedom, and the guilt drove him to enact his own death penalty and take Jack out with him. But even as he did that, he covered up his part in it so he could protect his sister and mother from what he had done. Now, Jack was a dick. He proposed to a child, married her when she was legal, had her killed because he didn't want to lose money in a divorce, and then let Rokesmith take all the heat. I felt sorry for Kirsten because she idolized Jack and was there for him during what she thought was his time of grief. And then she had to deal with Rokesmith's release, then discover Jack's body, poor woman, and now all of this. I liked the addition of Oliver as his acting was great and you could feel him being torn between loyalty and justice. This episode is not only a great example of the formula of the show, but really establishes the dynamic between Jonathan and Maddie, which will continue throughout the show. We have 2 victims, Jennifer Holliday, who was strangled with a cord which was orchestrated by her husband, Jack Holliday, because she was sleeping around, and carried out by Alan Rokesmith. And Jack Holliday, who was shot in the head and left in a bunker by Alan Rokesmith, who felt that they should both pay for their crimes and enacted justice. So there you have it. That was Jack in the Box. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want to keep investigating with me. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching. I'll speak to you soon, and keep an eye out for clues.